I can't wait to be happy someday. Someday soon. Why can't I just be happy? I just need to make myself more happy. I just gotta do it. You know what? Life's really not gonna be any good until I actually feel more happy. Remember that one time I was really happy? I just gotta get back to that. Maybe I shouldn't really be thinking about these things right now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matt B, and these are your emotional minutes, and welcome back. And we actually just did a whole series on positive emotions, and some people actually kind of constantly think about feeling positive or specifically feeling happy, and really sort of thinking a lot in their head, hey, what is it going to be that's going to make me happy? Or trying to think of a number of things that would make them happy, or even trying to will themselves to feel happy. So, I gotta feel happy. Oh, if I just felt happy, or kind of thinking or placing happiness as this sort of grand thing that once they attain, then their life will be much better. And it's understandable because we as humans pretty much all want to be happy, or most of us want to be happy most of the time. But this can actually be counterproductive to try to always be sort of thinking about happiness or trying to think of the next step to attain happiness, or trying to sort of will or sort of force yourself in your own thoughts or emotions to actually feel happy. And the reason for that is it's sort of the individual kind of focuses on happiness and what that would be like, but it kind of creates this sort of expectation of happiness that's sort of this really high expectation, or what sort of conditions or feelings need to be felt in order to be happy. And oftentimes those sort of expectations are actually unrealistic. So they end up becoming something that the person can never meet. And that can actually become pretty discouraging. I'm never going to feel happy, or how am I going to feel happy? And this can actually lead to, heavy discouragement or even feelings or symptoms of depression. And researchers actually call this phenomenon obsession with happiness. And they've actually found that it's actually counterproductive. So always thinking about or always obsessing about feeling happy, or sort of what step of your life needs to be taken to become happy, or the types of things that will someday be so grand when you do feel more happy, is really coined obsession with happiness. And actually, realistically, researchers have found that this sort of experience or feeling of happiness or joy can actually be pretty fleeting, meaning that you might have these great moments where you feel really happy, and that's a great and enjoyable experience. But what happens there is, it kind of comes and goes, or you might feel happy for, a couple minutes to a couple hours. Happiness isn't something that just kind of sticks around and is constant. And in our series on positive emotions, we actually talked about how we as humans just can't will ourselves or kind of make ourselves feel happy. And so really when we think about this, we don't really think about sort of feeling happy, or having that sort of emotion of happiness constantly. Really what, the science of emotion kind of thinks about is really what we call that more lasting or sustained feeling of contentment. And really contentment is sort of this sort of baseline level of, feeling pretty good about your life, not kind of constant happiness, but just feeling good and almost sort of calmly confident about the things that you have in your life and about yourself and your own well-being. And so really, how do I attain contentment, or how do we attain contentment? And so contentment isn't something that, you can just sit and think, hey, let me feel content, or let me feel better about life. And it's also something that, is easy to kind of think of in the future. Once I feel better about things, or once I feel content, my life or the world will be great. Really, with contentment, what it's more about is a lot of what we got in those positive emotion episodes, where it's more about really doing things that might be meaningful or enjoyable or give you a good or positive feeling in your life. Doing those things for their own sake, and contentment is actually almost sort of the byproduct or the bonus of those things. So it's really doing those things and enjoying those activities or kind of intentional behaviors you might engage in for their own sake. So it's not really about feeling content or trying to sit there and make yourself feel content. It's more about doing things that might be enjoyable, meaningful, engaging for you, and then actually sort of feeling contentment as sort of a product or a result of those behaviors. It sort of just comes naturally on its own after you're kind of constantly intentionally doing those things that you really enjoy or you really love. So again, it's really sort of doing those behaviors on purpose. And some of those things you can sort of include other people in. Then there can sort of be bonding that occurs as well. So you get social support out of the experience as well. And some of them you don't necessarily have to include other people in if you don't want to. Or if you don't have other people to include with you, really those feelings of contentment can come. And so hopefully that was helpful today in talking about obsession with happiness, and how obsessing with happiness, or how one might feel happy later in the future, or how to get that, can actually be counterproductive and can lead to lower well-being and even symptoms of depression. But how engaging in sort of enjoyable, meaningful, engaging activities for their own sake can actually sort of bring about contentment as sort of a byproduct, and something to then be enjoyed from that point. So again, I'm Dr. Matt B, and these are your emotional minutes, and I'm going to get back on the bike and head home, and we'll see you next time.